Good to see you today. Good to see you. I'm gonna turn off my listening to the Cars. I was listening to the Cars before we get together. But Wednesday Bible class. We're going to go through Genesis. It looks like starting with the 31st chapter, verse. I'm gonna think it's verse 20. Verse 20. That's what we're gonna. Happy Wednesday, Marilyn. Good to see you. Good to see you. Bobby Joe, the Lord be with you. Linda, good to see you. How's it going, Suzanne? Maggie, good day. Good day, good day. All right, good people. Oh no, Newman. Good morning, Brian. The Lord be with you. Jean, the Lord be with you as well. Boom. Good afternoon, Steve, Doris. Good to see you. We're about to get rolling. We're about to get rolling. First, I've got to make a correction. Yesterday, I was doing the thing that I normally do, which is I'm reading fast. I'm taking in a lot of information, and occasionally I get my word scrambled in my brain. Mottled, 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 which is the word that describes the sheep, and I just went right to molted, which is like the sheep are losing their skin. That's that in my brain. A little bit of confusion there. I'm glad to have received the gentle correction from my dear friend Jessica and her mama, who called me out on my word salad of a brain. So if that happens, just let me know. This is hi Terry Lynn. This is a joint Bible study. So we're in this together, in it to win it. So remember, any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comments and I will get to them. We generally usually have a goodly number of people in the Bible study. It jumps up to viewership, gets into the 4,000. It makes me want to puke later on in the week. But so if you have a question or you see something like that, go ahead and let me know. Okay, let's get to Jacob. So we left our friend Jacob, and he is the patriarch who doesn't fit the mold of patriarch. He is he doesn't mesh with it. He doesn't fit the stereotype of the patriarchs. He's a trickster. He's a liar. He's kind of cagey. He's sort of a jokester. And so he doesn't fit that mold that you would expect of a of a patriarch. Yes, we were missing Pastor Lestico yesterday, and we all gathered together. Jacoby's right, and handled it anyway. So we get to what happened with Jacob and Laban, and what has gone on is Jacob, remember, fell in love with Rachel. And he asks Laban for her hand, and Laban makes him work 7 years for her. But after the 7 years, Laban gives him Leah. And instead of, hey, Colonel Davis, the Lord be with you. Hi, Priscilla. Immanuel's in the house. How awesome is that? Steve, are you in actual Mexico, or are you in New Mexico? Anyway, so Laban gives him Leah, and the next morning he wakes up. I don't know how he didn't figure it out before then, but Leah, he wakes up, he's like, this is not Rachel. This is her sister. And Laban says, well, it's our custom in this land not to give the younger away before the older. And so if you work 7 more years, I'll give you Rachel. He gives Rachel a week later, but he still has 7 more years of work. Well, after those 7 years, Jacob's ready to go. He's like, it's time for me to leave. It's time for me to go back to my life. And Laban convinces him to stick around and work for him for wages. So tell me how much you have to pay, want me to pay. And Jacob says to him, look, I've done great things for you. There's, something funny's coming when I start laughing beforehand. Jacob's like, these 7 years with you, everybody's talking. They're the best 7 years of all time. In fact, I'm the best person to work for you in all time. So there's never been anyone who's done better in 14 years than me. Everybody's talking about it. And so if that sounds familiar to you, if that sounds familiar to you, that's the way it sounds to me. It sounds like Jacob when he sort of talks to Laban, it's like, nobody's blessed you like I've blessed you. Nobody's done good things for you like your sheep at your feet grown. And so they make a deal that Jacob is going to take the spotted, speckled, smeared, colored, mottled, colored sheep. And Laban's going to take all the normal ones that are most likely to occur in his flock. White sheep, solid colored sheep and the like, solid colored goats and the like. Well, Laban agrees to this, but again, Laban, I don't know a way to say this other than screw job. He deceives Jacob again by taking all of the speckled, mottled, folks, sheep and goats away. So there's no chance that any of the goats that are going to be born while Jacob's watching them are going to be spotted, speckled, or whatever that M word is, mottled. None of them. So, but God is with Jacob. And that's the key here. God is with Jacob. So if you say that Jacob stole things from Laban, you're not really taking into account that God is, he's with Jacob. He's got Jacob's back, and everything he does for Jacob is blessed because of the Savior. Okay. So we need to focus on Jacob and focus on you need to focus on God and not focus on Jacob. Now, I personally like Jacob because I identify with Jacob. There's a sort of a lighthearted trickster element about me. And I don't think that Jacob actually steals from Laban. I think that God blesses both of them, but blesses Jacob specifically. Because, look, scientifically, Jacob's plan is to take the strong sheep, put, wood that has been sort of there's white and it's sort of smeared wood, sort of like, so the idea in the ancient world was that whatever you saw, if you saw if a sheep saw a speckled, mottled, spotted wall before doing sheepy business, you would end up with that sort of sheep. That doesn't work in life. Imagine that. If you had a honeymoon suite that had dark colored walls, then out came dark colored babies. It doesn't work like that. But God blesses Jacob, and God tends to Jacob, and God loves Jacob. And so God participates in some of the trickeration. To quote a former president, that's Bush, trickeration. Not the younger, not the older. But so we want to sort of, what the sheep sees before its magic moment with another sheep doesn't make for sheep. But God blesses this. This is all part of God's plan to make Jacob great. So I don't really like the fact that we call Jacob a thief in this instance, because God is the one that's behind it, making sure it works. I used sheep panky yesterday. Like hanky panky, sheepy panky. That sounds good. That sounds good. The sheep looked at each other. They're like, this magic moment. All right, so let's get to the text again. Jacob tricked Laban. That's not what the text says. The text literally says Jacob stole Laban's heart. Right, Maggie. It does work for Jacob, which means God's behind it. We're going to hear about Jacob's dream later on. Jacob stole Laban's heart. Okay, that is an expression that you can take two different ways. It's a Hebrewism that can go two different ways. I'm just going to ignore Lestico, but it could be that this event broke Laban's heart. Or, which would be what I would think, to steal someone's heart is to checkmate them, to outfox them, you have a scheme and they plow through your scheme with relative ease. And I personally have always lived under the philosophy that when I'm just flat out beaten by someone, when someone outsmarts me, they win the day. It's just, if you outsmart me, then you win the day. That's the sort of the way that I've lived. It's the way I sort of see things. So at a board meeting, if someone just beats me, then they just beat me. I can remember in one board meeting leaning over when Clement Preuss was president of HT, and I was arguing against something and he was arguing for it. I leaned over at one point and said, I think you got me. And he laughed and said, I think I do. And then something happened and the argument turned and we won. I wasn't making that argument. I think Sandra was making the argument, but still we won. So to be outsmart, I think you should, when you argue with your friends, when you discuss things with your friends, don't get personal. If they win, they win. If you win, you win. Think of it as a game. I take Jacob's stealing Laban's heart as not, and if you want to take Laban's heart being stolen as Laban was so crushed, then I think you should take it the way, look, when your significant other says something about you that is hurtful but true, And what I mean by that is if like they say something to you that is so hurtful, and it's so hurtful because it's true, and it's not the way you normally think about yourself. So they say something about you, and they say it to your face. They're not talking behind your back. They're saying it to your face, and you're like, that's not true. But deep inside, you know it is, and you have to come to grips with the fact that what they've said about you is true. It's like when you deal with God and you have to come to grips with the fact that your motives weren't as pure as the wind-driven snow. You told everybody. You're a senior in high school and you told everybody that you were chaste. You were the president of the chastity group, but you were sleeping with your boyfriend secretly. And you hear the thunder. It's behind me. Are you up to no good there, Thor? God of thunder. So, but secretly you're sleeping with your boyfriend and your parents call you out on it and they know what you're doing, but you deny it and you get personal with them. And it's so hurtful that they said it. Deep inside, you know it's true. They've stolen your heart because they've said something that was so hurtful, but yet it was true. And so Jacob leaves because Jacob knows that Jacob's family, Laban is not happy with him. Jacob's kids have come to him and said, Jacob's getting rich on you, Dad, when the plan was Jacob would remain poor and work for you and be blessed and you would get richer. You follow me? So this verse is Jacob tricked Laban. Jacob stole Laban's heart by not telling him that he intended to flee. And I like Luther on this is all the verbs are negative when it pertains to Jacob's conduct. He stole, he tricked, he fled. Fleeing is not a positive way to leave. He's just like leave with like, bye everybody, love you. Leave is like cover of darkness left. And that's what's going on here. We are moving at top speed here. We've gone all of a verse in 19 minutes. He fled with all that he had and arose and crossed the Euphrates and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. And when it was told to Laban on the third day, That's sort of random, don't you think? Have a happy time with that. Hi, Brenda. The Lord be with you. When it was told to Laban on the third day. Now, remember, earlier in the chapter when Jacob says, Laban's attitude toward me has changed. It's not the way it used to be. His countenance is not the way it used to be. The Hebrew for that was, it's not the same as it was yesterday or 3 days ago. I like Pastor Lestico's take on this. Jacob keeps leaving places that way, burning bridges behind him. Yeah, Jacob is Jacob is a live in the now kind of person. And he fled Esau, and he's got to return to Esau later in the chapter, which obviously at the speed we're going, we're not going to get to today. We like it better when Finker's here because Finker actually moves through the text. When it was told to Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled, he took his kinsman with him and he pursued him. Now, pursuit. So he takes an army with him and he is going to hunt Jacob down and follow closely after him into the hill country of Gilead. So he's going to hunt Jacob down. Look at you, Gene Small. Solid colored sheep / goats were more valuable because their wool dyed better with natural herbs, and they had more economic uses. The other sheep and goats would be used primarily for milk and meat. Also, Gene, they were more common. Let's Luther's point is that they were more common. So really, either way, whether you take Gene's point or Luther's point, Jacob wasn't trying to deceive he wasn't trying to deceive Laban. And I also agree with Pastor Lestico. Jacob played the long game when it comes to the promise, but leaving, he has played in the short game. Esau played the short game when it pertained to the promise, and so despised his birthright. Good points. All right. When it was told to Laban on the third day that Jacob fled, he gets his kinsman and he pursues him. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night and said to him, 24, Shamar, which is guard yourself, or be on guard. It's a passive, it's a nifal. Be on guard not to devour. Say anything to Jacob, mitov ad ra, either good or bad. No, I said Luther's point, not Lex Luthor. Lestico, you may be the arch villain in my world, but I'm not making references to arch villains today. So God comes to Laban in a dream, and be careful, Shamar. Don't do anything bad or good against Jacob. And again, so if Jacob is this thief, then God is an accomplice. I would rather say that have our attention be on God. God's going to bless Jacob despite Jacob. But there is no sin. There is no sin in thwarting someone who's up to no good. And I might have a story for you later on why I relate to Luther, which I've never relate to Jacob, which I've never actually told before in public. So you might get a story if you hang around for a bit. Yeah. You thought you heard Lex Luthor too, Maggie? Interesting. So Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent. Oh, gosh, I love that word. Pitched his tent. And the word became flesh and pitched his tent amongst us. We have beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. This is a different word than used in John's gospel. In John's gospel, tabernacled is used. The word became flesh and tabernacled amongst us. See you, Brian. Have a blessed day. Laban with his kinsmen pitched tents in the hill country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done?" What have you done? And how you've stolen my heart. I did all this kindness to you and you stole my heart. And you've driven away my daughters like captives with the sword. Brad Drew in the house. I am so looking forward to the Higher Things devotions for Advent because they were written by one of my mentors, Pastor Brad Drew. Love that guy, and I have just made him a marked man by saying this. But What have you done that you have stolen my heart, driven my daughters away like captives of the sword? Now remember, the daughters said, you treated us like you've treated us like servants. You've treated us like currency. Why did you flee from me secretly, and why did you trick me? And you did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with mirth and songs, with the tambourine and the lyre. If you'd have stuck around, we'd have partied like it was 1999. A party like it's 1999. That's Prince, for those of you scoring at home. So why did you cheat me the going away party that we would have had for you? Why did you not permit me to kiss my sons and my daughters farewell? I just love this. You have done foolishly. I love Jacob, because Jacob is real. He doesn't say, oh, no, you didn't. Yeah, right, Pastor Drew. Yeah, this is rich, coming from the guy who made him work 14 years for the one wife that he wanted, and then gave him the wife that he didn't want, Leah. You know, Maggie, you're right. And you know what else, Maggie? What's great about this is, if you want to take Laban as actually, if you want to take Laban as serious, this would be in a case where, and I think he is serious. And don't let my mocking voice change the fact that we get so wrapped up in our own self-worth as sinners. We get so wrapped up in how good we actually are, that when someone does steal our heart, when someone does treat us like we deserve, we're put off by it. We're hurt by it. How dare they? Do they know how long we've worked in this church? Do you know how long I've volunteered in this church? I've been a member of this church ever since. I'm a founding father of this church. And you say this to me, but we don't realize how we're acting to cause the other person to flee. And so it's both rich because of the way Laban actually is, and sad that Laban is so self-deluded that he doesn't see that he stole from Jacob. He changed Jacob's wages a bunch of times. Jacob says 10. He's worshiping other gods, but that's, you know, who's not? That's a condemnation of all of us. Or, like Pastor Drew said, that he gives away 2 for the price of 1. I don't know. Is it 2 for the price of 1, Pastor Drew? Because it seems like 7 years at each. Nevertheless, I think it's awful what he does to Leah, because he gives Leah to Jacob. Jacob doesn't want her. And so she's treated like a person that's not wanted. Now, God sees that, and out of her comes Judah, who is the line. But this is very, very sad. Jacob's response is spectacular. 31. Let's get the Hebrew to the top. It's easier to read when it's on the page. Jacob answered, saying, to Laban, because I was yara, I was afraid. Because I thought you were gonna steal, tear away, rob. So like he uses the same verb as so like, you stole my heart. Well, I was afraid that you were going to steal my wives. Steal your daughters by force from me. I thought you were going to do that. Oh, I missed a verse. I moved too far. I skipped a couple of verses. 29. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for catching that. It is in my power, continues Laban, to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. But 30, and now you have gone away because you have longed greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? Why'd you steal my little figurines? My action figure gods. They're about the size of my take on these are the little statues about the size of an action figure. That's glad I caught that. Man, I do this in Bible class all the time where my eyes don't always, I skip verses. So that was making no sense until and so now Jacob answers, I was afraid. I thought you were going to steal your daughters by force. Anyone with whom you find your gods shall not live. In the presence of our kinsmen, point out what I have that is yours and take it. Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and in the tent of the two female servants, but he didn't find them. And when he went into Laban, he went out of Leah's tent into Leah's tent into Rachel's tent. So now Rachel is the one that stole the gods. Yeah, I have a Jesus action figure that some youth gave me. I'll have to show it to you. I'll have it tomorrow. Now Rachel had the household gods, teraphim. He had the household gods, and she put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on it. Well, that's not going to stop him. So Laban, he sort of all around the tent he felt and finds them not. And she said to her father, don't be angry with me, Adonai. Don't be mad at me, my Lord. I cannot stand up before you because the way of the woman is upon me. So he searched, but did not find his household gods. Okay, I'm just going to say this. In the ancient world, if you want to hide something where it's not going to be looked for, where Rachel put it, what Rachel said, brings to an end the search. I mean, as soon as she said, I can't even say it. I'm in the way of the woman. Laban's like, yeah, I'm not searching under you. It's like kryptonite. I'll search everywhere, but not under you. Sorry, you just stay where you are. I just love it. And now I love Rachel just as much as I love, Right. So I love Rachel just as much as I love Jacob now. How can you not? By the way, remember when Isaiah describes your good works? He describes them as used minstrel rags before God. Think about that the next time you hold them up and you're like, oh, look how good I am, God. Look how Laban I am, God. All my motives pure, all my works pure. Oh, no. What I love about this is Rachel's guilty. God should expose Rachel as guilty. God doesn't. God allows Rachel to get away with it. For now. Jacob then becomes angry. And he berates Laban. This is probably he quarrels with him. He disputes with him. He now has the upper hand. And so Jacob says to Laban, what's my scandal? What's my offense? What is my unrighteousness? Adikema. What is my unrighteousness? What is my sin that you so hotly pursued me? Hi, Robert Kwada. The Lord be with you. It's good to see you again. I hope you're doing well. Where's my sin? What I absolutely love is that Jacob now can go on the offensive and he can let him have it. And he should let him have it because he's accused him of something which Jacob didn't do. So why'd you come after me like I'm a thief with spears and swords? Does that sound familiar to you? It should. But the difference between Jacob and Jesus is that Jesus is actually innocent and Jacob is far from it. You have felt through all my goods. You have found. What have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that you'd be assigned between the two of us. 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and female goats have not miscarried. I have not eaten rams out of your flock. What was torn by wild beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss myself. From my hand, you are required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. So, I had to pay for anything that was lost. I had to replace anything that died. I took care of you. And you treated me like a thief. So whether something was stolen by day or night, you required me to repay it. If wild beasts tore an animal apart, you made me pay the loss yourself. There I was, by day, by Yom, and The dryness, the heat, destroyed me. It consumed me. And the ice, baby, the ice at night. I love the Hebrew word for night. Lala. And sleep fled from my eyes. So you want to know who actually fled? You say that I fled, but I didn't flee. Sleep fled while I was working for you. While I was working so hard for you, sleep fled. These 20 years I've been in your house, I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters. Thank you, Pastor Drew. 6 years for your flock. And you've changed my wages 10 times. Now, 10 times, I think that the 10 times just means you did it a lot. If you did it once, you did it 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac, what a way to describe God. The trembling of Yitzhak, the trembling of Isaac. If the God of Abraham, the fear of Isaac, had not been on my side, and remember, God said, I will be with you. Surely now, you'd have sent me away empty-handed. Oh, now it's gotten real. So now we're laying all the cards on the table. We're having our come to Jesus moment. But remember, Jacob's guilty too. God saw my affliction and the labor of my hands and rebuked you last night. So my God is the biggest God there is, the only God there is, and he had my back when you didn't. You're my father-in-law. You should have taken care of me, but instead, you cheated. You cheated me. Oops, hiccup. You cheated me. So God undid your plan. Laban answered and said to Jacob, the daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day for these my daughters, or for their children whom they have borne? Come now. Let's make a covenant, you and I. And let it be a witness between you and me. So we're going to make a deal. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather stones. And they took the stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Laban called the place Jagar Sadutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. This is going to be like a border. All right, this heap of stones is a witness between you and me. Therefore, he named it Gilead and Mizpah. For he said, the Lord watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. Mizpah, I think that word means to watch. Yeah, it's a watch post. So they named the place Gilead and Mizpah, which means watch post, because the Lord's going to watch between them when they're out of one another's sight. If you oppress my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no one is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. And then Laban said to Jacob, see the heap of the pillar which I've set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, and you will not pass over this heap and this pillar to me to do harm. So we're going to set up a neutral zone for those of you who love Star Trek, and it is Gili Mizpah. This place, Laban's not going to cross over and do harm to him, and Jacob's not going to cross over and do harm to him. Jacob, with all his scheming, didn't bring this about. God brought this about. God rescued him. 53. This is still Laban speaking, so this is kind of odd. And this is the unionism of Laban coming through, but Jacob doesn't participate in it. See, any sort of service in which all the gods stand together, equal, God's not a big fan of. So this is why we're not a big fan of joint services, even in times of tragedy, because God's not a fan of joint services. God doesn't really like when he's treated like all the other gods. So it's not like you have an option for other gods, like you have an option for hotels. Well, I could stay at the Hampton or the Motel 6 or the Holiday Inn. I choose the Holiday Inn. I could serve the God of Nahor or Allah or Yahweh. I think I'll serve Yahweh. Now, God doesn't play that game. He is not an option amongst gods. He is the only option. And when we stand up in a service and we act like all the gods are the same, and we're just a spokesperson for one God of many, God's not a fan. This is just a little unionistic lesson there. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. That's what Laban says. But Jacob doesn't swear by the God of Nahor, whoever that is. Whoever that is. Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. That's God's name. That's the one Isaac feared. And Jacob offered a sacrifice in the hill country and called his kinsmen to eat bread. And they ate bread and spent the night in the hill country. Early in the morning, Laban rose and kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. And Laban departed and went home. Tomorrow, we'll have Jacob and Esau. Today, we have Jacob and Laban. And how God, I like how Pastor Drew said it, how God guided Jacob through all of this. I want your eyes on God and not Jacob. I like Jacob, but Jacob's a bad cat. I can identify with Jacob because I lived my life as a bad cat, and that's not bragging. That's sort of a confession. I'm very, very sort of lighthearted and sort of tricky. So I want your eyes to be fixed on how good God is, how good Yahweh is to Jacob, and not how good Jacob is. Don't do that. I don't believe God is a thief. I don't. I don't believe Jacob is a thief. What I believe is that God thwarted Laban's plans and schemes, and God can do that. I I told you I'd tell you a story, and so even though we're late, I'll tell you the story nevertheless. I've never told this story before, so if it gets me in trouble, it gets me in trouble. But I think I'm far enough from the event that we can look on it. It's maybe not my finest hour. Pastor Drew knew me in seminary, but in my fourth year of seminary, the sim students were given tests. They were psychological tests. And these psychological tests were meant to, they were kind of, there was some politics behind it. It might shock you that even at seminaries there's politics. But pretty much all of the people of a particular brand that agreed with the current president at the time took these tests, and they got off scot-free. But all of my classmates that were like me, that were more of a liturgical brand, who did liturgical worship, all got extra time. They got overtime. They got CPE. They got clinical pastoral education. Now, I'm sure that was a gift for them. But so I went to my my favorite professor, Dr. Nagel. I'm like, what am I supposed to do about this? Because they're going to give me this setup. I'm going to take this test, and I'm going to end up with staying here another 3-6 months, because that's what my classmates had to do. And Dr. Nagel just simply said, well, if you thwart the intention of evil men, you're free in the gospel to do that, which is what God does for Jacob. He thwarts the intention of evil men. God is free to do that in the Gospels. Now, I'm not going to say what happened. I will just say that I was required, after taking the test, to do no extra work. I had no extra work. And another professor who was my academic advisor came up to me afterwards and said, how on earth did you end up doing no extra work? Should I tell you, or should I make you wait till tomorrow? I think we'll wait till tomorrow. Have a great day. Eyes on Jesus. Eyes on the Lord Christ. He's the one that's doing good works. He's the one that's doing good works in the life of Jacob, bringing Jacob along. It's Jacob that our eyes should be on, it's Jesus that our eyes should be on, Yahweh that our eyes should be on, and not Jacob. So we should look at the God who's good to Jacob and not look at Jacob's conduct, because all of Jacob's schemes don't really do anything. It's the God that's working through Jacob's life in order to bring about good for others, and the promise, who is Jesus, who will save us. I'm Pastor George Borghardt. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming, especially you, Pastor Drew. It's always good to have a mentor here. The Lord be with you.